today, we need to work, so what we worked on today in our practice is we need to do a better job of keeping our head inside our platform and leading to target. That was something we identified as a problem in our practice, in our match last night. So our cue is head inside the ball. That is passing is the skill. The cue is head inside the ball. We needed to produce a drill, an activity in our observe and pass today, where if they completed that cue, they could have success in the drill. If they didn't complete that, then they couldn't successfully play the drill. And that's kind of the creativity we have to have with our drill. Don't have a Rolodex of activities like, what are we going to do today? I'm going to do this drill. And you pull it out, you put it on your practice ball. We can be more creative than that. Our team is not the same as they were 2 weeks ago, or last season, or 2 years ago. Heck, some coaches are doing the exact same drills they did 10 years ago. Your athletes demand better, deserve better. They deserve a little more creativity. Doesn't mean that your process doesn't have to stay the same. Think about what that group needs today to fix their issues. Okay? So that would be kind of, you're working through a cue. This would be a semi-block, semi-random situation. Everyone clear with blocked and random training? We all hate blocked. We all love random. Yay. Okay. Roughly, blocked would be if you stand on a box and you hit a ball at one guy. That is a very blocked drill because there's no read. There's one stimulus. There's no continuation of that dig. It is as blocked as it gets. Okay. Serving in its nature is a blocked skill. It's the only blocked closed skill in volleyball. So closed being there's no lead, there's no start, other than the server starts with a toss, which is a stop component. And then it opens up volleyball from there. So volleyball has one closed skill, but we do many closed drills, I would guess. Right? And now I'm not going to say hitting off a box is wrong, but from a motor learning standpoint, it has no correlation. From a confidence standpoint, it has massive potential. Okay, so understand, motor learning and sports psychology are two very different things, and they don't like each other, it seems. They don't work together well, but they're both part of an athlete. Okay, so a lot of this stuff is built, we're going to talk about the mechanics, and the motor learning, how to teach your athletes to develop, learn, and be more athletic. The whole mind game, that's something somebody way smarter than me should talk to you about in a different symposium stuff. Okay, so going back to block to close, let's be clear. We want to create as many open or random drills as possible. You learn the game by playing the game. This is where Canadians fall behind the Europeans and the Brazilians. Those kids just know how to play. Our Canadians are much better at being very technical, and we try to be so focused on these skills because we're so well coached with all of these great people in the room. But sometimes, why is our hockey team so great in Canada? They play on the rinks and the ponds, and they play shinny, one-on-one and two-on-two. Why is America so great at basketball? Because there's hoops everywhere. Our sport doesn't work that way, unfortunately. We don't have a lot of chance to play rat ball, right? A little bit on the beach, okay? But how long is summer in Canada? Not great. So we got to find ways to create just more learning, more reading, more kind of spatial interaction type drills. So the better we can do in our practices of creating game-like situations, the faster we're going to be able to adapt our kids to the learning environment, which is a match, correct? I mean, I got a beautiful game plan for last night, and none of it worked, right? Because our opponents are pretty good too, and they did some other things, and then everyone just had to figure it out and play, and it just turned into this really cool-looking volleyball game, minus 30, 40 missed serves between the two teams. But we'll figure that today. The reality is that's volleyball, right? Once the ball is played, all crazy stuff happens. We need to train our kids to learn how to play in that cadence. Okay? So open skills, random training is kind of what we're looking for. So in these drills, how do we create drills that have a focus on a pass, that have a focus on leading our head to target, and that successful execution of that cue produces that drill that's game-like? Anyone want to take a shot at that? How do you make a passing drill game-like? A live serve. Great. How else? How many of you were at the game last night? Good. Good. That would be better. What the Bears team is doing is putting up a really filthy screen and serving dart floaters over it. So that's a reality. Serves come over top of blockers. So make it more game-like. Have people standing in the way of the server. Okay? How many times does a passer ever pass by themselves in the court? Not once, unless they're really good. think Garsh Karai probably passed by himself when he was there, but 30 years ago, plus. Right? You always pass with somebody else. So how many of us have passing drills, butterfly passing, where we stand alone to pass? That never happens. Right? The relationship between the other passers is a really important part of reception. Understanding who has a team, understanding how to protect each other's teams, understanding how to communicate. Right? Having a middle player kind of up to your left when you're passing in row 4 or 5 is, being able to pass in position 5 with a middle player there, and a center cruising in front of you. These are difficult things. Right? So we can create more game-like environments to stress out our passers that will allow more random type looks. Right? Right? The longer the rally goes, the more crazy volleyball gets. But I think that's just a quick example of how a simple passing drill can become a lot more game-like, making them more prepared for the matches that they have to play. Is that clear? Kind of get where I'm headed? Okay. All right. Drill considerations. These are a couple things. So I already mentioned number 3. Athlete rotation involvement is probably the one where you will all have the greatest improvement curve. How many of us have drills where not every athlete's involved? Absolutely, we all do. Get rid of it. Find a way to get more athletes involved. Find a way to have, how many of you have entered the down ball in your life? Why? You don't need the reps. Your careers are over. Right? Well, maybe not. Maybe some of you still got some years left in playing, but most of us are done, right? So you let your athlete hit a down ball. Yeah, it's going to be nasty, and yes, they're probably going to miss 5 out of 10 when they're doing it. But you know what? They're getting 10 hand reps. Only 5 of them were good, but at least all 10 count. So they're working on that. Even if they just want to float serve it, right? Or maybe you can just toss them to have them bump it over. There's ways to create a control element that you're not a part of. So that's a way to involve more athletes. Right? If you only have 7 kids, like how many of us club, we only have 8 kids show up to a practice? All right, fair. Maybe you have to enter the down ball because you don't have enough players. But I guarantee you can do drills where they are more involved. Every single player should be involved in every single drill. We did a drill the other day where our servers were trying to serve these targets, and we had passers in, and the passers were just standing there as like decoys to not get hit by. But then, it's a really stupid drill, by the way. But then I'm watching these guys go, how do we make that game-like? Every time you're doing a drill, think about how do we make this more game-like, how do we add another rep? So we went to the passers and we said, what are you guys doing right now? And they're like, well, I'm trying not to get hit by the ball. But what they should be doing is trying to watch very carefully the hand contact, so they're getting a visual rep, right? Standing their good passing stance and getting a really intentional visual rep on read that was there, right? How early can they pick up the ball? Great receivers pick up the ball somewhere halfway between the net and the serve. Average receivers, right around the net. Poor receivers, somewhere between the net and net. Right? How many times have you seen a passer get surprised by a ball? Man, that thing was served from like 15 meters away. How'd you get surprised by it? Right? But they're not seeing the right thing. So here's a great chance to teach them a visual rep in a drill where they're not even passing. So there's ways we can get more intentional coaching in everything we do. So every drill, how do we make it more game-like? How do we get more people involved? And then the other one is reps per minute. So it's a big thing in strength and conditioning, which, again, thank goodness that people do that for me because I don't understand that one either. But reps per minute, how many touches in an hour and a half can you produce for your team? If you can produce, let's say, 10% more than your opponent, and you produce that 10% more over 8 weeks, how big a deal is that going to be on Friday? Huge. So if we have more players involved, we're more intentional with even just the visual rep, right? We've done a blocking drill. We had 3 guys in the blocking drill. We created another row, and they were right behind them, and then the third row, and they were doing a defensive read. So it was just a movement pattern, right? But then we had people doing it, even though they're not at the net, they're all doing it together. So there was 9 guys in that one weird movement drill. Is it super game-like? No, but it's more game-like than if those dudes were standing on the sideline. So it's not ideal, but it's better. So we can all be just a little bit better, 10% better, 2% better. It stacks, right? If you do 2% better over time, that's where you really start seeing improvements. So this is the whole theme of this conversation. How can we just be a little bit better in every drill we do? Take a little bit more time in our drill design. Take a little bit more time watching and evaluating our drill, and not say, oh, this is a sweet drill, you guys stink at it. No, your drill stinks. They're trying to do it. So change your drill so they can do the objective. Have a clear objective. Make sure that it looks like volleyball. All right, so reps per minute. There should not be a moment in an activity where there's not one ball in the air. So organize your rotations, make sure there's a ball in the air. So right between serves, so if we have one guy serve, maybe you go reception to the left side, that ball's been struck, while they're changing and resetting another server, you can fire in a free ball and run a middle ball off it while they're on the other part of the court, while they're resetting the new server. As soon as that ball gets spiked, maybe you have to add another free ball, run a pipe ball out of it, and then by that time that left side's back in place, and now a serve can come in. It's a little bit chaotic. It's really hard to coach in that environment. But the reality is, if they're getting reps, they don't always need you to coach them. Sometimes they just need to work through it, right? If you have a clear objective, they know what they're trying to do. Sometimes just let them go, but create opportunities, right? Create different feedback loops. But reps per minute is huge, 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 huge. Okay? All right. Then we get into these method 3 activities. I think NCCP calls it. I would call it system tactic training. Similar is our tutor component. Now we're looking at what system are you going to try to do, what tactic are you working on, and then same idea, choose a component of it. Don't try to work on block system. Work on our left side overload block, or work on our middle pipe lead, or work on left side pinch block. Work on a component of it inside the global system. Does that make sense? So in reception, don't work left side to attack. Do it with left side to attack from a short serve position. Or, like make it more specific than less specific. Okay. And then create an activity that requires successful execution of that system. How do you do that? What's the easiest way to create the carrot for the athletes? What are some strategies you guys have had to create kind of motivation or focus or carrots? Perfect. And even more importantly, points. Give them a bonus point if they do certain things, right? Also, they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that, right? Every time we run a transition middle, it's worth 2 points to get a transition middle attack. Well, those setters are trying some crazy attempts trying to get to the middle 3 points. Right? We give a free point for every possible recycle. These are important parts of our philosophy. Anytime we successfully recycle a ball, it's a point. You don't need to win the point, you get a point. That's a way just to reinforce an athlete to like, oh, that's important to us. I'm going to get points for it. Great. So we watch tonight, we're going to recycle, our bench will fire up. That's a point. I wish it was like that. Right? But that's a perfect way to give them tangible reinforcement to force them to think the way you want. That isn't coaching, I don't know what it is. You're manipulating them to think the way you want. That's probably coaching 101, right? Okay. Activities should be read and decision based. So when we're talking about systems and tactics, we talked about our physical components. Anytime we're talking about a game situation or a system, everything is read and decision. Read and decisions can easily be summarized as if and then. The if is variable, the then is fixed. We've all written a multiple choice test, right? There is one right answer in multiple choice most of the time, unless there's a D, all of the above, right? There's one right answer usually, and that is then. So you need to educate your kids on understanding how to regurgitate the then. If the middle is late, then I hit it off his hands. If the middle commits, then I set the pipe. If the guy hits a short serve, then I run up and pass it, right? The then is a fixed thing. The if is where volleyball is hard. The if is what we coach. How do we read the right things? How do we gather the right information? What are we looking at to find that information? Once we have the information, then it's easy. Anybody with any sort of time can memorize thens. If is where great players play. If is where great coaching is done. So in these types of drills, we need to create if-then relationships and coach up the if. That's all we're talking about. What'd you see there? Well, I don't know. He just spiked it and it came really fast. Okay, well, we got to work on our if a little bit. Was the middle blocker there? No. Okay, so if the middle blocker's not there, then what? Well, then he can hit it at you. Perfect. If he can hit it at you, then what? Well, then I should probably be ready for it. Okay, now we're on to something. If you should be ready for it, how should you be standing? Right? If it's coming hard, then what? Then I put my arms in. Now we have a defender who's ready for the ball. But we got to go through all these if scenarios. All right, so let's work the other one. Could you see the spiker? No. Okay, then what? So if you can't see the spiker, then what? Well, he can't hit it hard at me. Okay, if he can't hit it hard at you, then what? Well, then it's likely going to be a tip. Good. If it's a tip, then what? How do we stand? I should probably land on my feet. Okay, now we have an off-ball situation. So again, working your athletes through those if scenarios means you don't have to coach them up on how to dig a tip. You just got to teach them how to read a tip, identify the if, and then they'll be able to dig a tip. How many of you have done a tip drill? You dig tips. Good. And they can do a good tip dig when they know it's coming, right? The whole hard part of the tip is digging when you don't know it's coming. So the whole purpose of an if-them relationship, give them the fish and they'll feed a family, right? Teach them to fish, they'll live forever, or something. I'm a church guy, I should know that. Right, but that's the whole point of if-then, right? Teach them how to read the game, then they can make those plays, and you won't pull your hair out and they miss those tails. Okay? And there again is a block versus random type idea. All right. Gameplay. This is where you should spend at least half of your practice. So in this, I've talked about a 30-minute warm-up. 45 minutes is the minimum you should be playing volleyball. Now, how you play volleyball? That is the fun part of coaching. What kind of competition drill do you want to make? 6-on-6, 4-on-4, 3-on-3, 5-on-2. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but make it look like volleyball and use scoring elements, competitive components to reinforce the things you want them to learn and do well, right? So, I just talked about the middle transition drill, or one of the great reinforcement ways is earning free balls. So start the game with a really weird high ball situation to create a scramble. Whoever wins that point gets free balls. You get free balls until they stop you. Who doesn't love to get free balls and spike it at other people? So this is, you can just give them carrots to reinforce what you want. Manipulate them to think what you want. Okay? So that's really what our game's got to be. Now, really good practice continuity is when we have our cues of our skill focus, our macro theme, and now our systems or tactics, and now a game that are all in the same theme. That is a well-designed, very productive practice. So for instance, all right, let's use that leaning. So if we want a passing drill where we're leaning focused, we have a screen, we have a middle player, we have a partner pass. Okay? Our cue is left, right, lean. So we create that rep drill. We work through it. We work on spiking the middle ball from a good pass and a high ball if we don't. Okay? Meanwhile, when they're resetting their passes, we also have a right side ball happening off another free ball. Okay? And then what we're doing is we're creating a high ball set on the other side for another ball. That's our skill. Now we're going to blend it into a whole system drill, where you have to pass, every time you pass a 4 pass, you get a free ball. Right? And then every time you pass a 3 ball, you get a high ball. If you don't pass a 3, the other team gets a free ball. And now we're creating a drill where passing criteria, pass quality, is now creating opportunity. And now we're just playing out the point. Everybody gets a point everybody who scores gets a point, right? And then we can start adding another elements. So, 3 setters. Well, how do you cycle your setters? And you know what I mean? So now we're talking about how to create drills that incorporate every one of our objectives into a game. And this is where your greatest coach needs to be done. Okay? This is where you need to find a way to coach without stopping the drill. You need to find a way to coach the if without having a discussion. You need to have very clear feedback that is not internal, extrinsic. I'll cover that in a second. This is where the really great coaches show themselves. 1, in the design of it. 2, in the way you communicate in the game situations. All right. On here, keep the game short. How many of us play games to 25? Couple? Yeah, good, right? Keep the game short. 10-point games, 8-point games, 5-point games, and then rotate your players, right? Plus, nobody wants to lose 25-12, right? So if you have a bad set, and it's just 10 points, you lose 8-2, it's more manageable. The other one, too, is always play at 25. There's this magical thing that happens at 20. People freak out and lose their minds. We saw it last night in 3 or 4 sets. We lost our minds once we got to 20. Oh, we're going to win. And then we lost, right? And that happens all the time with athletes. There's this magical number that just gets into their head. So play games from 15-15, 20-20, because that's where the real teams win. It's late sets. Anybody's good, 0 to 10. Great teams are great, 18 to 25. Right? So play in that environment, creating pressure, tight sets, do sets all the time. So play shorter games and play in the pressure moments, the red zone. Okay? Resist playing A versus B. This is going to be hugely controversial. Resist playing A versus B. If you are a fortune teller, then you can play A versus B because you already know who your best players are. But if you're not a fortune, you can't tell the future. then you should probably make sure you're mix and matching it, because some players are going to get hurt, other players are going to improve, and you don't know who they are yet. Okay? And it's not your job to choose who improves, it's your job to coach up your kids and let them build to an opportunity. Okay? So yes, you do have to find some rhythm. Yes, that's important based on the certain periods of the year. Persistent. Even then, they don't need to play every game together. Some coaches believe in that. Every practice, every day, same group. A versus B and the C is on another coach. And those coaches can be very successful. We're talking about developing athletes, not winning college national championships, Champions League matches, and Olympic games. We're talking about developing athletes, right? It's a development group. So again, I play A versus B for about half an hour on Thursday. That's it. That's what we love. But it's important to make sure your whole group gets developed. Right. Cool down review. All right, this is where I stink at this. My team stinks at this. Maybe that's why we're hurt all the time. What I understand about this time is it's super important to calm the nervous system. Recovery needs to be done in a calm nervous system scenario. So, a lot of teams like to kick their shoes off and casually wander around the court. That's actually a really great thing. Having a sit down and a bit of a stretch, right? That calming the nervous system. But anything to kind of reduce their heart rate. The scientists will tell you all these different things that happen in the body with blood flow and different things when you go from sympathetic to parasympathetic and all these different things. But the reality is, just trust me, as soon as you can calm their heart rate, the body will recover better. Okay? Now, stretching and productive communication, this is a great opportunity to review all of these cool things we talked about. This is a great opportunity to start talking a little bit about each other's lives and connecting as a group. This is a chance to share that new nugget of wisdom that you read about on the blog from Joe Johnson, right? And to share that information. So you could schedule your feedback at these cool conferences. Right? And then being able to bring it all the way back to a macro theme. Start with the macro theme, we went through the smaller components, and we wrap it back up in our macro. At the end of the day, fellas, what's the question? It was a successful practice if we what? We answered that question, and we were positive in our passing. We were positive in our communication. We were positive with our service touch. And now we're back on to being a positive, because that's a really important big thing for our season. Okay, and that's kind of for me how the practice would flow. Make sense? All right, questions? Yeah.
Your warm-up, when you said that you think age and responsible, I totally agree with that for the older ages. When they're 10, 11, 12, they're not going to be on balls to each other, so you kind of have to adapt to their
Great. No, you're absolutely right. The comment is make it as game-like as possible, though. So that is where you have to be creative, absolutely. So how do you make it more game-like? Maybe grab those little mini footballs, because that actually is the right motion. This one is not warming up your shoulders for spiking. So we can do a little bit more. Now, is that game-like? No, not at all. But neither is this. Right? So how do we just get a little bit more creative? Think outside the box and create more game-like warm-ups, more touches, more is more. More is better. And game-like is the best of more. And so absolutely. But that's the fun part of coaching is every group, every age group, every team has got its own unique things, and it's kind of how creative we can be with pursuing these kind of core philosophies really helps our practice. Great question. There's some challenges. That's so much harder coaching younger kids than older kids. It's easy to coach my kids. If I didn't show up, they're probably better off. Right? Because I make them stressed out and anxious. Right? So there's a problem for coaches. Don't make your kids anxious. But for the younger kids, man, constant attention, constant feedback, focus. They don't even know what they're doing. I mean, that's the hardest coaching there is. But how many of us who are coaching 10s, 11s, and 12s spend far less time than I do on a practice? Who spends more than 30 minutes on a practice? More than 45 minutes? More than an hour? I know we're busy. But let's think about this. If the practice is the most important part of your team, how come we don't spend almost an equivalent amount of time on our practice plan that we do with practice? Your plan is more important than practice, because your practice is a reflection of how well it's planned. Your coaching in the practice is important, but how you prep for that practice will determine how that practice goes. And you're going to see the greatest improvement in your team with the better prep you do, more organization. And then how do you adapt the drill based on the day? Personnel. Only 4 kids showed up. Oh boy, Johnny is hurt, Sally is having a crisis. Okay, this team got weird now, right? That's coaching in the day. But at least you have a plan. You know what your objectives are now.
Ryan was saying earlier at one of our things that he had maybe 10 drills. That's all he had, and then he just recycled them. What percentage do you, like how much, if I went to Tuesday practice versus a Thursday practice, how much would be overlap, like in terms of drills?
That's a great question. I'll answer in a story. Mark Duffy is coaching Pepperdine. He coached the American Olympic team in '88, gold medal coach. Somebody asked him what his favorite drill is. He said, well, my favorite drill for a passing drill would be there's a receiver. So we're going to serve at him. And after he passes, we'll probably have somebody will set the pass. We'll have to spike that set. We'll probably have someone try to defend it and then probably a blocker. Should they dig it, we're going to have somebody else set that dig and spike it back at them. So we're going to need some more blockers there. And if a rally ensues, we'll continue to play it out. We'll probably keep score, maybe even keep stats. And then we'll go from there. And that's my favorite receiving drill. So then, so you're playing volleyball? Yeah, that's what we're doing. So that kind of summarizes what, if you come to my gym, you're going to see, the joke is we do this serve receive drill that has balls flying all over the place, people hitting all over the place, and they have like an organized rotation. And there's like 9 different versions of it. And based on, we need to work more on right side, so we tweak more volume to the right side. We need to work more pipes, so there's more pipe swings today than yesterday. Essentially, it's the same drills every day. We're just changing scoring elements, how many balls are being involved, who has to hit a high ball, who has to hit a high ball, how the rotations work. But essentially, there's a serve, a pass, a setter, a spiker, a blocker, a digger, and we play it out how the points there. And I almost never keep score of those drills. So Ryan's point of I only have a few drills for sure. Like reality is if you find a couple really great drills that you can tweak to touch on what you want to work on, then you don't need a lot of drills or activities. But the younger ages, when we're teaching more smaller components, method 1 and 2, we have to have far more activities to try to teach the different cues. So I have the luxury of, I have 3 hours every morning to work on small groups of my athletes. So they all come in for 2-3 times a week, and I work on all of the method 1 and 2 skills. Now that's when we're working on our shoe and shoe, our hands are down, our lean in our hands, and I can just work on these smaller parts. So when we don't have that much time, we have to be a little more creative and more of a flow like this. Like I won't even touch on method 1 and 2 in practice. Imagine. We do those in our morning sessions. But for you, yeah, you gotta find a way to rep out some of the movement skills. You gotta rep out some of the decision making and then create a flow. So I would suggest not having a drill bank, but having certain structures you like and then tweaking them to work on the different components. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. So Brian's not wrong, but there's more to it. Any other questions on that part? We're running out of time. Okay. I do want to talk about coaching mechanics a little bit. We have this plan. Now I want to talk a little bit about how we function inside of our plan. So macro themes we talked about briefly. Macro themes are big themes that apply themselves to volleyball and not. They are things that our team will do well. If our team does well, we will be good at volleyball. We will be good at competing. We will be good at living in human trait. Okay? Being positive, that's a good human trait. But it's also a good volleyball teammate. It's also a good volleyball skill trait. Having positive motion, having positive platform, having positive hands on the block, having positive finish to their set, having positive rotation. Right? There's a lot of ways you can apply that word to a lot of different things in volleyball. So finding a macro theme that has that much versatility is the whole point of a macro theme. Same thing with efficiency. Efficiency of movement, efficiency of communication, efficiency of emotion, efficiency of energy, efficiency of sleep, right? There's so many things we can apply that word to. Okay, so that's the point of a macro theme. So everything you do should be applied to one of your macro themes. So if you don't do macro themes, I think you should. I think it's huge. It's really, really important. If then coaching, we talked about that. The ability to know when will determine success. The ability to coach the if will determine success. This is where you make your money if you get paid. Right? If is everything. Teach your athletes to figure out the if, and then you can tell them what the then is. Ask more questions. How many of us understand how to kind of lead athletes to answers? You know, and the questioning type of, especially today's kids, man, they don't like being told anything, right? So manipulating, think what you want, there's that thing. And how do you lead them to come to their own conclusion? And that it was their idea. One, they'll have more buy-in because it was their idea. Two, buy-in is everything, right? So we got to find, how do we lead a kid to the water so we can drink? Okay? All right. Extrinsic focus. Okay, this is kind of a bit of a new thing for me. A lot of people in learning science are talking about the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic focus. So there's a bunch of studies, and most of them that I've seen have to do with jumping. And they talk about if you tell an athlete to jump with their legs, or jump with their knees, or swing their arms more, they won't jump as high as if you just tell them to jump high. Or picture yourself as high as you can. Every study says if they don't think about something internal, and they more think about what it looks like or something external, they will have more efficient movements and then perform better. How much of our coaching has to do with something internal? How many of us have talked to an athlete about what foot to step with, what to do with their left hand when they spike, what to do with their hips? We talk, this is all we do with coaches. We talk about what their body is doing. What the science is telling us, and this is really difficult, and I can fight like crazy to figure this out, implement in my coaching. Every piece of science tells us that athletes who work from an extrinsic, so what is the picture of the outcome, and what is the picture of execution look like? The best part right now is YouTube has every best player in the world has a highlight video. And every one of your kids can go and watch these great players play. And this is something volleyball's missed for decades, right? NBA, NHL, NFL, MLB, all the best athletes in those sports in the world are on TV every day. It's super available. Who knows who Monterrey is as a kid? Everyone should. He was the best. Now who's the best? I don't know. Gore Perrin maybe? Like, how many of our Canadian kids don't know who Gore Perrin is? Or Shanice Marcel? Or Kyla Richards? Like, how many of our kids haven't watched them on YouTube? They should. Because if they get a great picture of what Shanice looks like hitting a cross court ball, or what Gore looks like on his rolling down the line, or what Gavin looks like hitting a jump serve, if they have these pictures, then they can go in the gym by themselves and they can try and replicate them. We got these great tools like iPhones and iPads that have free apps that have delay. This is crazy. So wait, you could have an athlete do a jump serve and walk over and look at their iPhone and see themselves do it. And then they can go watch Gavin on YouTube and compare the two. We are in this really cool time for this kind of science to come. If they get the right picture and we can, of the outcome and of their execution, we can provide the visual feedback so they can try to mimic. And that's what science tells us they're going to be the best at and improve the fastest at. So this is a challenge for all of us as coaches. How do we make our feedback more extrinsic? So for me, one of the biggest ones is I talk about left, right, lean on passing. Okay, well, I can't talk left, right, because that's intrinsic. Leaning, okay, that could be okay, but so how to make that more extrinsic? I want you to walk against a stiff breeze. What does that look like, right? You're leaning, especially Alberta film. There's winds everywhere, right? You lean against the wind. So when a pass is coming, when you're leaning against the wind, right? What does that look like? So that's an easy picture for us. So I want my passers to have that in their mind. Pass comes, lean on the wind. Right? The pass is coming from the target, just lean at the target. That's a great extrinsic. And so now they're not thinking about a weight shift, a left, right. They're just like, oh, the ball comes, I'm just going to lean on the wind. Again, I don't know how true it is, but that's what science says. And I like to think the scientists are smarter than me. So go with that. Try it. I promise you your athletes will enjoy it, and it's better. They're built to be athletic. Our bodies are built for athleticism. We as coaches stop that by telling them to step with their left, right, put their hands here, lean this way. All of a sudden, how many times have you seen an athlete try to pass with all of the cues at once? Look, make them go by. It's so weird. Whereas, you know, we just had this with our kids. They're working on stuff and stunk at it, and then I stop paying attention and I look over and they're not really, they're just stroking the ball. And like it's not this technical pass, but they didn't miss one because they were just not thinking and being smooth, being athletic, trusting that they actually are good at this thing. So yes, there's a component when they're young, you got to teach them the right way, but two, you also got to empower them to be athletic and let them work through it. That whole train ugly stuff. How many of you have heard of that, train ugly? Look it up, it's really cool stuff. And this is kind of all in that same thing. They're big believers on all these things. And big believers in this stuff, growth mindset. If you don't know what this is, you gotta look it up, it'll change your life, probably for the better, but it'll frustrate you like crazy until then. Okay? Simply put, failure is the pathway to improvement, not good. So to last night we lost, does that make us a bad team? No. The Bears won, does that make them a good team? Not necessarily. Right? Outcomes do not dictate whether you're good or bad. Right? What are you working on? What are you trying to do? What is your process? What is the objective of the drill, of the match, of the season? Just because you don't succeed at something doesn't mean it was a failure, right? And that's kind of what this whole mindset thing is. Kids, especially kids today, with all of the mental health stuff we're dealing with, kids are so hard on themselves. Oh, I suck at this. If you ever hear a kid say he sucks at something, slap him around. That only makes it worse. But if you gotta stop that, right? You don't suck at this. You suck at it. You haven't become good at it yet. Right? I'm not sure if Holfer talked about this, but he loves adding that word yet. Right? I'm not a good server yet. We didn't serve well last night. Fact. Are we bad servers? No. We just didn't serve well last night. We worked hard today at serving. We're going to serve well tonight. Or not. And we're going to go practice on Monday, and we're going to serve well on Monday. We're not good servers yet. And that yet is huge for kids. It empowers them to be better tomorrow, not be bad at something forever. And this is that growth lesson. So read it. It's a short book. It's an easy read. It's great for parenting. It's great for humaning. It's great for everything. Okay? All right. Almost out of time. Positive phrasing. Okay. I have 3 small children, so I've watched a lot of Bambi. But if you can't say something nice at all, don't say something. But if you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all. Right? Do no harm is one of my next one. Doug Reimer, for those who don't know Doug, names probably can't say Doug's name in Alberta. Pretty good stories on it here. But if Laurie's not the best coach, Doug would be, right? These are the pillars of women's volleyball and the youth sports right now. And hopefully, not yet. He's got a few more championships. But great coach, he says, do no harm. No matter what you say, just do no harm with your words. We are empowered and they trust us. Please say something nice and do no harm. So what's your feedback? We're trying to teach them to pass better. How do you make them pass better if you're harming them? You got to get this right. How do you speak in a positive way that they can be better passing? So I know I'm preaching to the choir, but if you get nothing, just make sure you're building the kids in a way that they can pass. And the only way they're going to pass is if they think they can pass. Now we're kicking into sports psychology. Do drills at key times that produce no harm, right? Well, if they can't do the drill, then they can create a drill that they can do, especially if you have provincial championships coming up this week. Do the drills where they feel good about it. Don't damage them right before you need to play. Irrational confidence trumps rational talent. There's a lot of really great teams who haven't won, correct? All over sport. Our job as coaches is to try to create an environment where they feel confident, they feel prepared, and ideally irrationally confident. That they just, so has anyone read or seen the book or the movie Moneyball? Other than the Bible, for me, it's the most important book in my life. And the movie's okay, but the book is amazing. And essentially, the book comes down to this story between Billy Beane, who is the best athlete you've ever seen. They call him a 5'2" player. He's the perfect baseball player. And he was too smart. And he knew everything he did wrong. He had this really fixed mindset. And then this other guy named Lenny Dykstra, who didn't even pass high school. They came up in the minors together. And Billy Beane said, how do you hit that curveball? Like, I'm trying to keep my hip in. He said, what? I mean, if it goes that way, I hit it that way. If it goes this way, I hit it this way. What do you mean to keep your hip in? And here's like talking about intrinsic and extrinsic. Here's an extrinsic dude who was an 8-time All-Star who just saw the ball, hit the ball, and ran fast. There's a story where Lenny Dykstra has a ball in center field and he airmails it over the cutoff man, but throws the guy out of second base. And then Billy Beane was around. He's like, you missed the cutoff. He's like, yeah, but I got him out. Whoa, Billy Beane's mind was blown because he didn't do the right thing and he got a result. Whoa. But that's what we're trying to create. We're trying to create kids who are creative, irrationally confident, and just play. They don't think about every little piece being right. What's the objective? I got to score a point. How do I score a point? Well, I'm just going to tip it because they're really deep. Well, we don't tip. We got to hit it. We got to swing to win. How many of us have said that? No, man, we can score a point. Be Lenny Dykstra. Figure it out. Let the kids have the freedom to do it. So again, how do we create an environment? That's the whole theme of this conversation. All right. I'll let you guys work through those. We've talked on most of those. The last one's probably the one I'll leave you with, and it's kind of the whole theme of this conversation is coach the head, the body will perform. So in football, our tactic against the Bears is to take the head, the body will fall. It's in football. Kill the quarterback, the team falls apart. For us, the Bears' head is their center. Walsh is their head. If we can find a way to neutralize Walsh, we got a chance to win. If we don't stand a chance because he's great. So every team has the head. Take the head, the body will fall. That's the conversation. With that, the part of this is coach the head, the body will perform. If you can get them in their mind space, rationally confident, open to learning, with great growth mindset and positive focus, you have their heads where you want them. The body will do what you train them to do with well-organized, articulated, and productive practice design. Design a great practice, have a great environment, and coach up the if then. You will have a team that will improve. I promise you will improve. Not every team is championship ready, but every team can improve. And that's our whole purpose. All right. A lot of words in an hour. Is there any questions?